Yeah, so in the last video, we saw that we could use a live server instead of a normal serve command, which creates a normal HTTP server. The live server is now capable of reflecting our changes real time in the browser, which means that we moved all the things, our HTML and all the dependent assets, including the JavaScript, in the public folder. And now let's say this public folder we are serving from live server package, which we installed earlier. And we saw that if we do something like npm run dev now, then this live server will be executed. And essentially what will happen is that on this 3000 port, this thing is now running, right? Now we can see that yeah, so this in index.html, let's say we are changing something, right? And then when we save it, we can see that that is automatically reflected here without manually refreshing. Also, let's say this is printing hello in this index.html, right? Index.js, right? Then let's change this hello to hello world, and let's save this. Then we can see this, now it is hello world, it is printing, right? So we can see that JavaScript and HTML, whatever we are changing, the changes are reflecting here live. However, this is still somewhat limiting. Why? Because all the code which we are writing here in index.js, for that matter, the code is written by us only, right? Till now we have not used any third-party libraries or npm packages inside our this thing. Okay, let's try doing that, because we cannot write everything from scratch. We have to use code written by others, so that we can build on top of that and we can build our applications faster. So let's try doing that. So earlier in one of the videos we saw a package called Cause. So let's take a simple example of that package only. So Cause, we saw the example where the Cause package was used from terminal, right? From terminal you used Cause, and then whatever the text you want to say, so that thing will be passed as the second argument, and then it was working fine. Yeah, so basically we could use this module as inside our JavaScript directly also. But let's try doing that. So let's say we directly import this here, and let's rather not use var, we will use const. And for that matter, right now just let's try to print this rather than doing anything much. We will soon see what is the problem. You see that in this case it is saying that require is not defined. Okay, which means that yeah, so this is like so this is where another thing called module bundler comes into picture. That actually the packages which we are using, that we cannot directly, because these things which are embedded inside index.html, they are again dependent on something which is again from some npm module. So somehow all the code inside this module has to be bundled inside our inside another file, and that file has to be imported from here, right? But we are not doing that. So here there is a concept called module bundler, and one of the most common module bundlers is called Webpack. So we can write something like Webpack getting started, and we will find a simple tutorial about how to use Webpack. So Webpack is used to compile JavaScript modules. So all these modules which we are using, this has to be compiled. So if you are using it directly from Node.js side, then it's not needed, right? But because that has a full-fledged module system inbuilt, and that understands this node modules and all those things, and how the require works on Node.js side. But in the browser they don't understand anything, right? In the browsers it's simply that from HTML, whatever file you include, that file the browser will try to download and run it, right? As simple as that. So all these things cannot be directly understood by the browser, and that's why the tools like Webpack evolved, which convert and bundle these npm packages, published packages, and create a bundle which can be directly provided to the JavaScript to the HTML side on the front end, and then they can use that JavaScript directly. Okay, so let's see how to get started with it. Yeah, so they are saying that first of all you have to install Webpack and Webpack CLI, right? So in the package JSON, we can see that right now these two things are only there, but right now they are saying that we have to install this also. So we already have everything, right? Already npm in it, we already did, right? It's a valid npm repo right now, so no need of those things. Just we will install this part. So let's run that thing. When we install that, then we'll see that it is safe dev, which means that inside dev dependencies it will be installed, so that is fine. Next they are saying that okay, they are saying that okay, so now you see what is the problem. We cannot directly use this file index.js because it has modules directly embedded like this. It has to be bundled. So what it has to be done, that this type of file has to be kept separately, and whatever the bundle which we get from Webpack, that will be used with index.html rather than this file directly. So what we are going to do is that we will create a separate folder. Let's call it src, and we will move this index.js to that src folder. Now it is here, right? Now we will try to bundle this. We will try to create the bundle from this index.js. Then what will happen, that whatever the code, so right now you see that some piece of code is here, some piece of code is inside node modules, and then cause wherever it is there, right? So we don't want to depend on separately on node modules, and separately on node modules, and separately on these things, index.js, right? Rather we want to have a separate bundle which is having everything. First of all, let's check whether Causev is installed or not. I believe that we don't have right now, because we just use this code. But it doesn't matter because the require was only not working, so this doesn't matter whether this was installed or not. So firstly, let's install this. And right now you see that everything is dev dependency, but this Cause is the code, is the package which is directly used inside our index.js, right? So we are going to install this as a dependency rather than dev dependency. Okay, so we can see that now we have a dependency called Cause. Okay, and now let's try to bundle this thing, this index.js. And they said that in order to do that, firstly you have to move the thing in src index.js, which we did, src index.js, which we did. And then we have to run the command. So a few small things which are not that much necessary, if you go through this documentation you can see. But the main thing is that now we are trying to run the webpack command, so that we can get this thing. We can get the bundle. So let's try to run. The command is simple, and that command is called simply webpack. If we run this command, and how this command becomes available, this command becomes available because we installed this Webpack CLI. So Webpack is the core crux of the Webpack, and Webpack CLI gives us this utility called Webpack. Webpack CLI means command line interface. This thing terminal is also called command line interface. So this Webpack CLI adds this command line command line tool for Webpack. Now, but this will directly not run, right? Because this is not installed globally or something. This is for our thing, right? So either we have to use it inside some script, or we have to run this as npx, as we already know, right? So npx can install anything which is installed in our node modules. Yeah, and we believe that we are getting too many errors. So I don't know, like this package Cause is allowed on front end or not. Maybe that it is allowed as required, but it can be only done on the back end. So we will have to check that. But this works for anything, right? So let's use another common package called Lodash or something, right? So the Lodash package is actually also very commonly used, and this is used for some utilities. I'll show you one or two of them. So earlier it was used very commonly, but right now after ES6, many of the functionalities of Lodash is directly available in JavaScript. So this is not that common, but still somewhat common. So we can see that we installed Lodash as our dependency, and let's use Lodash for now. So let's use so firstly let's simply use something like const Lodash is equal to require Lodash, right, and then you just print Lodash. You see what happens. So yeah, you see that it is built, and it is saying something that mode development should be provided, or production should be provided, which means that they are just trying to say that you specifically specify whether it is mode development or production. So that is fine. So simply that you see that if you use mode development, then then whatever the bundle is created, so the bundle is created right now in dist, so just dist folder is right now actually created, and in the inside that you can see that this main.js is created. Okay, now this main.js, if you see, then it is like somewhat so let me show you a simple example. So let's say right now I'm not using any Lodash or something, that then also it can be built pretty simply, right? So right now if you see that I built it, then still like this is pretty small, but you see that some comments and something are there. So actually this is somewhat development build, which is somewhat bigger, but it helps in debugging or something, right? But if you use mode production and then run it, production, then run it, then you will see that this will be minified. So you can see that now this is like minified. So whatever code you write, that will be as short as possible, rather than too much expanded format in which it is easier to debug but slightly bigger in size. Okay, so yeah, but we don't want it to go inside this dist, because we are serving it from main, from this public folder, right? So there are two ways. One is that you build this thing. So first of all, are we going to run this command? Every time we are every time we are going to so let's say, so this is let's delete this folder, and let's run this command again. Then you see that this dist folder is created, right? But then every time we are creating every time we are trying to build, and then we have to run this command, and then further more configurations can be passed later. So rather than running and typing this every time, we can create a script for that, and that script can be here, and we can say something like build. So build command, and in build command we are writing something like this, and now npx is not needed because we are not running it from outside, from here only, right? So let's again remove, and you can use here development also, that is fine. I'm just using production so that it is like loading faster for now. If there is any issue, then we can switch back to development, and then we can see if there is any issue. But right now I'm just trying to show that how the build process works, nothing much. So you can see that now rather than typing this, I can simply write npm run build, and then a build folder will be created, right? Sorry, a dist folder will be created. And so where this dist name is coming, I don't want to create dist folder. Let's say I want to create build folder, or I want to directly emit this inside this public folder. So right now two ways are there, right? One is that you already like know that it is going to be available in dist folder. Then you take this file and then move this file here, copy this file here, and then it is available from here. That is one way, right? Another way is that you directly emit it inside this only. Yeah, so in order to do that, we need some changes, and for those changes, let's go back to the documentation. So it is saying that some configuration file is needed, and those configurations sometimes you can provide it inside this command line utility only. Lots of parameters you can provide, but a simpler way is basically using this webpack config.js. Okay, so you create a file here, in the root called webpack.config.js, right? And then inside that you can copy from here the basic configuration, and then this configuration can be like can be too much advanced, but we will start with simpler configuration. So it is basically saying, and these are so it is saying, you are seeing that this require path something is there. So all these things, these are already available inside the node ecosystem. So you don't need to install this path or something. This is already available in the node.js. And we are running this via node.js only, right? So what we are doing, when we are doing npm run build, then what is happening? This thing is running, and this webpack command is this thing. So in node.js you are running this webpack utility, right? So obviously the node.js modules, by default modules, will be already available. So path is something which is used for resolving paths. So for example, we want to emit this thing so you can see that by default this is the setup where you are emitting inside the dist folder. So underscore dir, which means that the current directory from where you are starting, let's say, and then inside that dist folder, and inside that when you emit the output, the file name should be main.js, and you can change this. So let's say you change this index.js to main.js to index.js. Then now if you delete this, right, and now if you run, then you will see that inside dist main.js is not created, index.js is created. So whatever you have created just now, you have whatever name you have written just now. And again, let's say you don't want to even create a new folder called dist, rather you want to simply emit it inside your this public folder only, so that it is available directly, because inside here we have written /index.js. so if here only index.js is there, then we don't need to copy it or something, directly it is available, right? So for that, again, you can change this dist to public, then directly the file which will be emitted, that will be emitted inside the public directory directly. Okay, so let's run npm run build, and you can see that now index.js is successfully created, right? And now the simple whatever, so we have not done anything here, but for testing whatever we did earlier. So let's see this npm run dev thing, right? The npm run dev thing starts this thing. Okay, so you can see that yeah, this thing is running fine, but we wanted to test this thing, that if something like this was there, then directly running was giving us an error, right? Now if we are doing npm run build, right, then this thing which is created, index.js, right? Now this thing is having all the things, Lodash and all the things, right? So now when we and now no need to just so yeah, so let's firstly see what it is. Okay, so let's run npm run dev, and we'll see that yeah, something is printed. So this is like this Lodash thing, right? And in Lodash, the convention is, rather than using Lodash word, we just use underscore word. So basically this underscore, and now you see that on this underscore word, a lot of functions are available. You can see that all these functions are available, and yeah, you can see the documentation of Lodash to see a lot of these. But the point is that we can use some of them just for documentation. So let's say there is a command called debur in this. So what it does is that if you have some string which is not strictly ASCII or Latin, then it converts that into ASCII. So let's say there is a word called deja vu, right? Now this is a French word, and you see that this thing is called in French some accent aigu or something. But this thing is this e accent aigu. I want to convert it to normal e. You understand? So you see that if I have a string const str is equal to let's say this thing. For now, let's comment this, and I'm just trying to show you that let's see, and str. Okay, now you know that if we see here, then we see that okay, so we have to build it, right? Yeah, so this thing is actually problematic, right? Every time we are changing our JavaScript, right, we have to manually build it, right? So we have to create a solution for that. So somehow every time I change my JavaScript, automatically this command npm run build should automatically run, right? For that there is a utility. There's a utility called a nodemon. So nodemon, if you search, then on npm only you can get it's nodemon. What it does is that it automatically detects changes, and if there is any change, then you can run some command. Okay, so the installation is obviously save dev nodemon. It is a dev dependency, so you should install it as a dev dependency. So npm install nodemon. Okay, so yeah, so now it will install inside the dev dependency. This nodemon has come, and now we are going to use this nodemon to do something. So in the build that is fine, but now let's create a separate command called, let's say, watch. Now what it is doing is that it is saying that okay, I am running this command called nodemon. I am watching which directory. I am watching this src. I'm watching this src, and whenever the src is changing, so which means that inside src index file is there, right? And you can create 10 more other javascript files or something, and by default nodemon watches javascript, json, these files, right? And you can configure those, you can go through the documentation, but by default javascript files are automatically watched. So we see that inside src all those file extensions in javascript will be definitely watched. But when they watch means what? Watch means that whenever they any of that changes, then I want to execute something. So the command is exec, right? And then you can write your own command which you want to execute. And what I want to execute, npm run build. So you see this, you see the syntax. Nodemon command I am running, watch the src. If anything changes in src, then again run, and so if earlier it is running, then stop it and again rerun npm run build. So what does an npm run build will create another another index.js, right, again inside this, right? So that is what we want. Let's test that out. So npm run watch. So you see that it is saying that nodemon is started. It is saying that it is watching for the extensions js and json and mjs. Js is what we are interested in, right? So that is fine. So inside src, this js, anything which will anything in js file, if it will change it, that will be detected. And if some change is detected, then npm run build is executed, right? And you can see that because of npm run build only, this asset is emitted by the webpack. So you can test it out. Let's say a few enter you put, and then go here and again change something. Let's say instead of 2 this, let's create an arrow or something like that. When you put save, then you see that what happened. You see that restarting due to changes. So since you changed something in this, then that's why it is restarting. What is restarting? It is restarting the command which you said in packages. In packages, and you said that you run npm run build, and that's why it is again running npm run build, and the new index.js is created here. So this index.js is the new one, right? And that is fine. But one thing is that see, this is separate javascript, and one another, if we want to keep on running that that thing which is like this is npm run dev. So you understand, every time you have to cancel this and again run npm run dev. So rather than that, you can simply keep this running and open. You can enter this put this plus and create a new terminal will be created. I have already a new terminal, and in this new terminal you can separately run the dev part, which means the running part. So npm run dev, right? So now you can see that on 3000 port my dev server is running. Now this thing is fine, so you can see that this thing is running, and this is like double arrow whatever, and let's change that and let's save. When I saved, then you see that two things happened. First thing, that here changes were detected and again emit happened. Once the emit happened, then inside this folder, public folder, again this index.js is changed, which means that this is the newly emitted file, and that's why this is rewritten. Once this is rewritten, then the live server detects that change, because live server is watching on public, right? And it is saying that inside this public this index.js is changed, and that's why it is saying that change detected in public index.js, and that's why it refreshes, and you see that that double arrow is gone, and simply this angle bracket is there, and everything is working fine. Okay, so two things. Firstly, we have to see that whether that whether the module bundling is happening. Right now we are just using Webpack, but we are not doing much. We have not used any bundling as such of separate node packages, right? Second, we have to do that this starting two commands is somewhat cumbersome, right? So somehow we have to simplify that process, right? Okay, no issues. So let's firstly do this low dash, okay? And right now we are seeing that this deja vu is there, and why to do that this separately. Let's take this str and insert a new element in the HTML only, right? So let's say something like const el is equal to document dot create element, and let's create an element called div of tag div, and then this el dot, let's say inner text is that str, whatever str is there, and then we want to insert this el inside the body. So document.body.append child, and we are inserting this el. Okay, once we do that, then we can clearly see that something like this is there. Okay, firstly this is exactly what we want to change. So let's do something like this, that instead of just commenting, I am using this underscore, and then I am creating a new str2 is equal to underscore dot debug. So this is what it does, that if you give a string like this, then it converts it into a string which is like without this accent tag or something, normal ASCII English characters, Latin characters, and that thing I am setting as inner text rather than. So now when I save, then this thing should be changed to normal ASCII characters. Let's see that. So let's save it. You see that restart happened, change happened, and here you see that this thing is now a normal ASCII character. Okay. So yeah, that is fine, and now you can see clearly that somehow this is what I wanted to show you, that somehow this Lodash thing is working inside the browser. And why this is working? Because when this index.js is saved, then a new bundle is created every time this index.js, and this is like, you can see that pretty big. This has Lodash and all that, those things inside it, and that thing is accessed from inside this index.js. So if you see this this thing, okay, then you can see this index.js is there, right? If you open this index.js, then you can see that the Lodash etc is bundled, and you never created this file, right? This is the file which is created by Webpack, and you can see that this is highly compressed, which means that like there's no gap, no line, even there is no additional space anywhere, just as compressed as possible they have created it, and that is because we used this here mode production. One thing, you could also use this mode in here also. So you understand that here also you could write something like mode and whatever you want, not module, mode, and then you can write here mode is equal to production or development. So let's write development or something, but then you have to remove it from here, right? There's no need of here. Earlier webpack config js file was not there, that's why we wrote it here. But once you do that, then you have to restart this thing, right? Restart npm run watch, because npm run watch is the thing which is creating npm, starting npm run build, and npm run build does webpack, and webpack takes this webpack config js and does everything, right? So now you see that if I do development build, then the file will be not too much compressed. So let's run npm run watch, and you can see that now again here this thing, if you refresh, you see that this is not now that not that much compressed. In fact, it is still like too many things are there, and that's why it is looking like this gibberish. But you can see that many comments are there, and it is somewhat very much bigger than the earlier one. Earlier one was very much compressed, right? And this thing is somewhat this thing, and this has a bit of an added information which is useful in debugging and all sort of things. But the idea is that whenever you are trying to do development, then just keep it in development mode, and whenever you are done with development, just you are building it for production, then why to force users to download bigger files, because then this page, when they load your website, then it will be taking longer time, right? So you want to make your javascript bundle very small, as small as possible. So when you do this, make it to production, it will be somewhat compressed. Okay, anyways, but functionality wise everything will be still same, right? So if I do anything change, so let's say deja vu I am doing, and I save it, right? And you can see this automatically it is changing. Okay, so now we have seen that webpack bundles such things and creates a bundle for us, which we can directly use from inside our html, right? And as promised earlier, this thing is like running two commands every time. So one for live server and one for this thing is looking like cumbersome, right? So what we are going to do is that we will cancel both of them, right? And obviously we have cancelled, so this thing will no longer work. Now I'm saying that inside this we can combine command something like this. So you see that if you write something, right, like npm run watch, and then if you put an ampersand sign, then this will mean that you run an npm run watch, which means that this thing is done, right? And then this single and means that this command need not complete. In fact, this command will not complete because this will hang, right? Because this is waiting for changes. If you run, as you can see, if you run npm run watch, this command never terminates, right? It is holding, and it is waiting for changes, and if changes are done, then again it will, so it never terminates. The single and says that run this, but don't wait for its completion, and run this again. If you do double and, then so for some commands you want to use double and, in this case you don't want to use double and here, when you know that this can terminate very soon, and as soon as it terminates, then you start running the second command. But if you want to just run the first command, and as soon as that command got started, don't wait for its termination, and then go ahead with the second command, then you use single and in the CLI functionality. Okay, so that is fine. Now what we are going to do is that again, this thing is like Unix compliant, so on all the Unix systems it will work. Most probably it should work in Windows systems also, but let's check it out on Windows. If there is any issues, then we will discuss it later in some of the sessions. Okay, so npm run watch, and now you see that once I have this command ready, then I don't need to run npm run watch in separate window and npm run dev in separate window. Now npm run dev will do watch also, and then start the live server. Okay, so everything will be done from a single place. So let's do that. So npm run dev, yeah. So now you can see that everything is started from here only. Okay. Okay, so you can see that serving from 3000, which means that live server is very much active, and nodemon is also active, and nodemon is able to build also, so which means that webpack is running also perfectly, right? Which means that using just one command, now we are able to start things, and let's test this out. So let's test so this thing is not needed, as we can see that only just one terminal is running, and that is fine. Now you can see that whether HTML and so this if once we refresh, then we can see that this thing is running. Now let's see. So we can clearly see that if I change now here anything in and save it, then you can see that this HTML changes is also detected, and that is because live server is checking for its changes. Let's go to the original our file of JavaScript, and let's change anything here and save it, right? Then this is also reflected here, right? And because the webpack npm run watch, that thing is also working. So yeah, this is the way in which you can start a dev server, which is like change, which is like rendering the real time changes, which is able to see the impact of that, and at the same time we are able to use a module bundler also, so that we can use any npm package, and we can use that also directly inside our JavaScript. Okay, and whatever is supported in web browsers, that can be easily accessed here. Okay, there is one final thing which I want to mention here, and that thing is called webpack dev server. Okay, so whatever we are doing right now, whatever we are doing is that we build, and then in order to build we have to use our own nodemon to watch that something has changed, and then we are again building that, and then again there is a separate server for serving files. All these things can be combined by a utility given by webpack itself. Okay, and that utility is called so let's close anything which is not needed. Yeah, so let's close everything which is not needed, and then let's google that thing which is called webpack dev server. Okay, this thing is actually used for the thing which we said, right? And the idea is that let's go directly to npm. So the package name exactly is this thing only, webpack-dev-server, and we'll copy this, and we are going to run this. So let's cancel it for now. We are going to run this, but we are going to say that it is a dev dependency, and that's why we will use -d. And now that we have installed this, then we are actually not going to use live server and nodemon and all these things, right? So let's remove all those things. So npm rm live server we will not need, nodemon also we will not need. So let's remove all these things. Serve, let's keep it, because that can be used as a production. Scousi also now we are not using right now. Okay, so yeah, so now we will use npm this webpack dev server. Okay, but this webpack so how to run this thing? The idea is very simple. When we ran webpack, then we already had a configuration file which said that from where to take the file. This is the entry file, so take the src index.js and output it as index.js, right? Now when we run webpack dev server, instead of so firstly let's run a command. Called simply webpack dev server. and now we are not running it from inside the script, so we have to use npx, and let's try to run this command. Okay, so you see that a few things have happened. The first thing is that it is saying that I am starting at 8080. Okay, okay, that is fine. I am starting at 8080. Second thing is that it is saying that I am emitting this from public folder, which means that definitely you can pass, and again you can go through the documentation and see that how, if let's say your folder name is apart from public something else, so by default they will try to use index.js public dot public folder, whatever the defaults are there. So in fact index.js was also not default. Index.js is because we configured it to index.js. Earlier it was main.js, right? Similarly, you can configure more things about webpack-dev-server and pass it at, so for example, right now we have 8080 port, right? Let's say we want to start at 3000 port, right? Then you can do something like hyphen port equal to 3000. Now if you do this, then you can see that the server is now started at 3000 port, and it is served from this public thing, right? Now let's do one thing. When we are, let's delete this index.js. Okay, let's delete this index.js, and let's now again start. So you see that that it is saying that it is running, but there is no index.js. Then how will it run successfully? If I start now index localhost 3000, then will it run successfully? You refresh, and turns out it is running successfully. And why is that? Like I have a index.js file here, like, but here there is no index.js file created. Then how it is able to run? Let's click on this, and we click on this, and we are seeing that, yeah, like at root of my website, index.js is there. If you refresh, like, it is there. So from where this file has come? It turns out that when you are using webpack-dev-server, then that file which is already expected by you, that file is created, but not created on file system. It is just created in the memory, in the RAM itself. And when you are running this localhost 3000 or whatever port you are running, then that file is still made accessible by webpack-dev-server without writing it on the file system. Okay, which means that if you are using webpack-dev-server, then this file, even if it is not there, it will be available. And why this file is available? Because you configured it that the file name should be index.js inside webpack config you said, right? And that's why it will work all fine. However, if you run now something like npm start, which will launch our serve package, then if you run like this, then it will start. But then when you refresh, then you will see that it is saying that index.js is not there. And that is true, right? Index.js is not there, so obviously it should give error, right? So the idea is something like this. See, the idea is that when you are running for development, right, then you can use simply a webpack-dev-server, and otherwise you can use you can build and make that index.js available. So let's do that. The first thing is that npm run watch nodemon, all these things is not needed. So let's remove this. Now we simply need webpack-dev-server port 3000, right? So we need webpack-dev-server port 3000. Only this thing is needed, right? Now this starts in dev mode, right? Okay, so let's see. So if I now do npm run dev, then you can clearly see that this thing is working fine. And whether I change HTML, you see it is available, or I change JavaScript, you can see all these changes are real time available without refresh. Okay, that is one thing. However, However, if you want to run it using this serve command, this start command, right, then basically you have to firstly do npm run build, right, and so which means that firstly you have to do npm run build, right, then you see that index.js is created, right, when you do npm run build, and then you can do npm start, and if you do like this, then it will run perfectly, like on the this is like sort of, you can see that this is sort of a production mode, but then you can create your own build where here you can pass a mode is equal to prod or something to make, but the idea is that but you see that right now when I'm running in that thing, and if I change something here, if I change something here, then this will not be real time available, right, like you have to refresh it. So this is like not development type thing, right? So that is the idea, that if you, and again this build thing and this thing you can combine at one place, right? So you can say that you can say that I can do something like npm run build and serve public. I'll do something like this. And why this is double end? Because I know this, and that I know that npm run build thing does not hang. npm run build thing does not hang. npm run build thing is completed, and then it is completed, right? And that's why now if I delete also this thing, and now I do npm start, then you see that npm run build will be running, index.js will be created, and then serve command will start. So npm start, you see that this is created and then started, and then it is working fine, right? The only thing is that now it is not dev, it is not real time changes is not happening, and that's why this is like the for the final thing. When you are done with the website and then you finally want to release it, then you can do something like this. But when you are in dev mode, then rather than using npm start or npm run start, rather than this, what do? You do npm run dev, and if you do this, then you are now in dev mode, and you are running the site using webpack dev server. So essentially this is not needed. Even if you delete it, it will keep on working fine, because this thing is just created by build command, which is for production only, or for that matter serve command only. But the point is that now this is real time. Now this is real time. You can see that live read only hot module replacement enabled, which means that it is looking for real time changes. And now whether you change whether you change anything in HTML or CSS, they will be available very much instantly for the viewing inside JavaScript, inside the browser. Okay, so let's say you change here anything, okay, so this is available, and if you change anything inside this is also available. Yeah, but now we have simplified it using one command, and that too using Webpack Dev-server, which is straightforward in development mode. And on top of that, the Webpack is also helping us internally in order to bundle the modules whatever we are using inside the index.js. Okay, so this is like introduction to a basic setup where Webpack and Webpack Dev-server is needed. Most of the times you will not be using this directly, because if you are using tools like Create React App or Index.js also, then all these tools are already configured for you. And why it is already configured, and that is good, because there are too many advanced configurations which might take many months of to master. So rather than that, those people who already are aware of nitty-gritty of those things, they create already a setup or configuration of Webpack which works pretty good for you almost all the time. But you can tweak them by going through the Webpack documentation and read it more about it. But still, even if sometimes you are not using Webpack directly, but in this video we saw that if a time comes when you want to change the settings, or for that matter, even if some other library is using Webpack, then you should have a fair understanding that what is Webpack and what it does. Okay, so that you can know that somebody else is doing something for me, but what that tool is doing for me. Okay. Yeah, so that should be it for now. Let's see you in the next one. Thanks.